It is the Turtle Dork back with a new editorial video for you to go over 2018's Oscar nominations. Yes, they dropped this morning. I watched it live on Twitter while I was at work, and there were some surprises that I am really happy about. It scared a couple of my coworkers when they announced some of the nominees, so I had to make sure I kind of composed myself when I was at work. But I want to go over not really all of the categories, but of course the main categories and a couple other ones I kind of want to highlight. So about 13-14 categories. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. One that's always a favorite is animated, and it looks like this year, okay, of course always they're going to have some kind of like some indies, some foreign language animated films that I may not have heard of or haven't seen yet. Hopefully as we get closer to the Oscars, I'll be able to catch some of these animated features. One is called The Breadwinner. There's also another one called Loving Vincent, and this one I do not understand. Boss Baby. Okay, now when I did my trailer reaction, and this was like in the early part of the channel, I really kind of dug the trailer. Honestly, I haven't even watched the movie yet. How that got nominated for an Oscar, I have no idea. But the clear winner and the clear favorite in this category is, of course, Coco. And we also have Ferdinand, which was just released recently, about the bull that's voiced by John Cena. So that's an interesting pick as well. But I think for my money, Coco should run away easily with this category for Best Animated Feature. Next one I have is the original song. So let me just run through some of the categories or the nominations in original song. We have Mighty River from Mudbound, and that's Mary J. Blige, Raphael Sadiq, and Tora Stinson. Then we have Mystery of Love, Call Me By Your Name, Sufjan Stevens. Then we have Remember Me from Coco. That's Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. Then we have Stand Up for Something from the film Marshall. That's Diane Warren and Lonnie R. Lynn. And then we have This Is Me, The Greatest Showman, from Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. Of course, I'm going to say The Greatest Showman. I mean, you've been hearing a lot about that movie and just how much of a good time that film is, and the music is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, that literally was a soundtrack that I downloaded while leaving the theater from seeing that movie, and it's just such a great time at the theater. And that song, This Is Me, is really the centerpiece of that film, that focuses on the whole idea of accepting me for who I am, and the outsiders really coming into their own, and just really finding that strength within themselves. And it's the way it plays in the film is absolutely beautiful. So I think for my money, that will be my choice for original song. This is a good one. Original score. We have Hans Zimmer for Dunkirk. Then we have Phantom Thread, Johnny Greenwood, The Shape of Water, Alexander Desplat, Star Wars The Last Jedi, John Williams. And then we have Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri from Carter Burrell. My favorite score from last year was easily Three Billboards. That is Carter Burwell and what he does, the stuff that he has done with the Coen brothers, most notably for me is True Grit. Man, this dude just knocked it out the park. The Shape of Water, Alexandra Desplat, amazing. I also think it's pretty cool that John Williams is being nominated again for a Star Wars film. That's pretty remarkable. But again, for me, I'm rooting for Three Billboards, so hopefully that will take the statue for original score. I absolutely love that score. Check it out. It's only about 30 minutes. Check that one out. Alright, so next we have adapted screenplay, is the one I really want to get into. So let's go ahead and read through some of these. For adapted screenplay, we have Call Me By Your Name, screenplay by James Ivory. Then we have The Disaster Artist, screenplay by Scott Neustadter and Michael H. Weber. Logan, we'll talk about that, screenplay by Scott Frank, James Mangold, Michael Green, and story by James Mangold. Then we have Molly's Game, which was written for the screen by Aaron Sorkin, and Mudbound, screenplay by Virgil Williams and Dee Reese. So this is a really, really strong category, and they got some great films. Again, I haven't, actually, the only one I haven't seen is Call Me By Your Name. So as far as adapted screenplay, I think, you know what? Looking at this list, I don't know what could win. For my money, I think I would love to see Mudbound win this one, to be honest with you. Again, that was in my top 10 films of 2017. Molly's Game, I mean, it's Aaron Sorkin, so you're going to get that it's sharply written. For me, I really couldn't connect with the film because I think, again, I'm not really like a card or poker player, but the way he's able to kind of bring it around when you get to that third act, he's really able to bring in the emotional weight from Molly's perspective, especially the relationship that she has with her father. But his dialogue, I mean, it's whip smart, fast paced, sharply written, especially the stuff between Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba is just absolutely fantastic. But the one I definitely want to talk about, a lot of people are kind of talking about a lot, is Logan. Now, I think Logan is a good film. I'm not the biggest fan of Logan, but I do want to give it kudos for being the first comic book film to be nominated for a screenplay award, a screenplay Oscar for adapted screenplay. And that's pretty remarkable. And does it have a shot at winning? It has a shot. But to be honest with you, again, I haven't seen Call Me By Your Name, but looking at this right now, from what I know, I would say Molly's Game and Mudbound might be the front runners for those. So then we're going to go to original screenplay. So for original screenplay, we have The Big Sick, written by Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani. I said that right. Get Out for Jordan Peele, Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig, The Shape of Water, written by Guillermo del Toro, Vanessa Taylor, story by Guillermo, and then Three Boards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, written by Martin McDonough. This is another strong category, but the one that I really want to talk about that I'm actually, man, this one gets me really excited because again, Three Billboards was my second favorite film of that year. The Shape of Water was just a beautiful story, and I'm always rooting for Guillermo del Toro. Lady Bird, I mean, we'll talk more about Greta Gerwig. Get Out, Jordan Peele, my favorite film of the year. And again, I think all aspects of that movie really, really work. But The Big Sick, man, Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani, of course, this is their autobiographical story as far as like how they met, fell in love, and became husband and wife. And I don't know, I think it's pretty cool that that they got nominated for Best Original Screenplay. So a part of me honestly is really kind of rooting for them to take this. I think that would be really, really cool if they get that. But again, I can't, anybody in this category, I would be extremely happy if they won. But Get Out, man, that's my dog. I gotta go with Jordan Peele. Visual effects. This has been a really, really strong year for visual effects in cinema, I think. The categories we have in this one, we have Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and then War for the Planet of the Apes. Dude, looking at this list, if I'm thinking visual effects, for me it's coming down to War for the Planet of the Apes and Blade Runner 2049. Those two seem like those would be the clear favorites. for me, especially after rewatching War for the Planet of the Apes and the photorealism of the way Weta was able to create those apes, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Of course, Blade Runner 2049, the way they're able to kind of integrate practical effects and merge it with the CGI, and I think that's also due to a lot of the cinematography by Roger Deakins. So there's a lot of different elements that come together for that, but it's just undeniable as far as what War for the Planet of the Apes has done in every single film that it's done since the first one. I mean, they have just been top-notch when it comes to visual effects. Film editing. So film editing, we have Baby Driver, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So there's 3 films I really want to talk about in this one. I think it's Baby Driver, Dunkirk, and I, Tonya. Let's start with I, Tonya, because I think it really comes down to those 3 films. But out of those 3, I think I, Tonya probably has the long shot of actually really taking the statue. But I think it's a really well edited film, and the editing of that movie really keeps the pace of that film going. And especially when you're dealing with so many different elements with her basically recounting her story, and you're seeing kind of like 2 different sides, and then also with her breaking the 4th wall and talking to the camera, stuff like that. There's really like this really kinetic energy to it, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the editing of that film. But Baby Driver and Dunkirk. Now, looking at this list off, on first hand, I would say Baby Driver. And to some degree, I still think Baby Driver, because I think what Edgar Wright and what the editors did with being able to combine music with the visuals and with the story and incorporating that together, and really that was just a remarkable job in crafting that story in post-production with the editing of that. But Dunkirk is interesting. Dunkirk is interesting because I think a lot of times when it comes to storytelling is done through editing. I think what the Academy will be looking for is not just really kind of like the flashy cuts and how the aesthetic of how something is cut. I think it's really going to come down to how the cutting of the movie just really kind of progresses and tells the story of the narrative. And with Dunkirk, again, this was an experimental film that Nolan was working with, and the idea of taking kind of 3 separate stories and telling that over the course of 1 hour, 1 day, and 1 week, and having all these different characters and having that kind of woven together and interlocking and intersecting with each other. That's definitely an achievement in editing, and just the crafting of that is something I think is not going to be overlooked by the Academy. So I think it really comes down to Baby Driver and Dunkirk, but the more and more I think about it, I think Dunkirk might end up taking that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Baby Driver gets that either. Cinematography. Okay, so this is another great one. So let me read off the nominees. Blade Runner 2049, Roger Deakins. The Darkest Hour, Bruno Delbano. Dunkirk, Hoyt van Hoytema. Mudbound, Rachel Morrison. And The Shape of Water, Dan Laustsen. Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 films here, because this is what I believe it comes down to. Of course, we have Blade Runner 2049, Roger Deakins. He is like the Susan Lucci of the Academy Awards when it comes to cinematography. I mean, this guy has been working in the industry forever, has created some of the best visuals that has been put to film. He comes from that old school of Conrad Hall, where, I mean, you could take any shot from his movies and you can make a painting out of that. It's just gorgeous the way he uses lighting. I mean, we can go on and on about Roger Deakins. Mudbound. Let's go there next. Rachel Morrison, the first woman to ever, in the history of the Academy, the 90-year history of the Academy, to ever be nominated for cinematography. that's a hell of that's a hell of an achievement. And we'll get, you know what, let's get to it now, because Mudbound has definitely kind of broken through kind of like that stigma because it's a Netflix film, and a lot of people were worried that Mudbound wouldn't be recognized. And the fact that not only Rachel Morrison gets recognized, we'll get to a couple of other nominations that Mudbound has, but I think that Rachel Morrison and what she did, when you see Mudbound, again, from that school of like Roger Deakins, Conrad Hall, Bradford Young, he's a new up and coming young cinematographer. The way they use natural lighting, it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And The Shape of Water, when I saw The Shape of Water, I said, you know what, this is the best shot film I've seen all year. The color palette is just absolutely beautiful, and it plays beautifully within the narrative of the story. And I think that's something else the Academy might look at as well. So, man, Shape of Water, Mudbound, Blade Runner 2049. I mean, I still stand by the fact that I think The Shape of Water is the best shot film I've seen this year. But Rachel Morrison and Mudbound, that movie, even though it destroyed me emotionally, is one of my favorite films of the year. The first female to be nominated for cinematography. That's groundbreaking. I would love to see that. Roger Deakins, old school guy, one of the best in the business, the best in the business, never has won an Academy Award. So I'm torn. This one I'm so torn in so many different ways. So supporting actress, we have Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. This is the one I think I almost scared my coworkers, because the last thing I was expecting, because I didn't know Rachel Morrison already had nominated when they announced cinematography. So I wasn't even, Mudbound wasn't even on my radar because it's a Netflix film and the Academy doesn't really recognize Netflix. So the first name they said when they announced this category was Mary J. Blige. So I just it just shocked the heck out of me. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear that. And she is phenomenal in this film. Absolutely phenomenal. Gosh, so good. Octavia Spencer, The Shape of Water. That was another surprise for me, because I didn't think, although I thought she was great in that film, I didn't think that it was a performance that the Academy would recognize. Laurie Metcalf was really like the standout out of all these names. The one that I kind of knew would be nominated was Laurie Metcalf. I thought she was I really thought she was phenomenal in Lady Bird. There's a real authenticity to all the performances in Lady Bird, and especially that relationship between her and Saoirse Ronan, that mother-daughter relationship, and she just portrayed that so honestly. She was great. She was great in that movie, and Allison Janney was just. Oh my gosh, she was a nightmare, which is a good thing. She portrayed that character. I mean, that is like a jackknife in the back. She is awesome in that movie, but scary as hell. So I'm gonna say, for me personally, I'm rooting for Mary J. Blige and Laurie Metcalf, who I think will probably take it. I really think it's going to come down to probably between Allison Janney and Laurie Metcalf. I kind of think they're going to give it to Allison Janney, but I would love for Laurie Metcalf to take that. So next category we have is supporting actor. So for supporting actor, we have Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins in The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is another strong category, but this one is a head scratcher also as well. I love the fact that we get both of the supporting roles in Three Billboards with Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell. Now, in a lot of the other award ceremonies, I know with the Golden Globes and with the SAG Awards, Sam Rockwell has taken both of those, and I think he probably is the front runner, and that's probably where my money would go for, and who I'm probably rooting for, because I thought he was really, again, that movie deals with so many complex characters in that film, and not necessarily likable characters, and that's okay. And but I thought that his performance in that was it was sad, and I think even though he's not a likable character, the way Sam Rockwell plays that, he makes the audience empathize with him, and there's only a few actors I think that could really pull that off, and he does it brilliantly. Richard Jenkins I thought was really, really good in The Shape of Water. Again, just like with Octavia Spencer, I didn't think that would be a performance that the Academy would recognize, but because that movie is just so fantastic and so beautifully done, I'm definitely happy that he is on this list. I haven't seen Willem Dafoe in the Florida Project, but I tell you, Disco Dork stands by his performance in that movie. From the time he saw that movie, he stood by and said that it's probably Willem Dafoe's best performance, and that's saying a lot if you look at this man's filmography that has spanned over decades. So I like the fact that he got nominated for that. That's a film I'm definitely going to have to check out. The head scratcher here, Christopher Plummer. All the Money in the World. Good Lord. Okay. You know what's interesting to me about this? I mean, a lot of people complained about the Golden Globes with him getting nominated and nobody having seen his performance. But the simple fact that Ridley Scott, he wanted to go out and replace Kevin Spacey because he wanted to release this movie so it could have Oscar consideration. And and what was going around in the media was like, you know, because Michelle Williams' performance in that movie could garner her an Oscar nomination. So they were pushing through. They said, okay, let's recast, let's shoot for like 10 days, you know, let's bring Christopher Plummer in so we can basically salvage the film to give Michelle Williams a chance. At least that's what's being reported from the news outlets. So he comes in, replaces Kevin Spacey, and then Michelle Williams ain't nowhere to be found, but he gets a nomination. It's like, what kind of shit is that? Part of me is thinking that they are trying to make a statement against everything that's been happening with, you know, the sexual misconduct and, you know, the sexual abuse in the workplace, especially with what was going on with that film and Kevin Spacey. Now, I don't want to say that it's a publicity stunt and not saying that he's not worthy, but at the same time, they do use the Oscars and these award shows to make political and social statements. And when I saw that, my first thought was that they're really trying to make a statement. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think he has a shot in the dark in winning, but we have to wait and see. But my money's on Sam Rockwell. Next we have lead actress. So for lead actress, we have Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie in I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep in The Post. This is where I think they kind of played it safe a little bit. Meryl Streep, I just recently saw The Post. It's a really, really good movie, and the performances are top-notch. And she's, you know, one of the elite actresses out there. But it just feels like if you just point a camera at her, she's going to get nominated for an Academy Award. Frances McDormand has been cleaning up in a lot of the other awards, I think Golden Globes and SAG. So to me, I think she's kind of the front runner. Saoirse Ronan, I'm glad to see her on here as well. I think she's been nominated before, I'm not sure. Margot Robbie as well. I thought she was really good in I, Tonya. I'm kind of lukewarm on the film itself, I, Tonya. I still think it's really good, but the performances, I think, really outshine the movie itself. And Sally Hawkins, I mean, the more and more I think about what she was able to do with that character and with that role, the performance that she gave in that, and playing a mute, and really being able to convey those range of emotions without saying a word. I mean, it speaks volumes. So I'm definitely glad they recognized her for her performance as well. So, I mean, honestly, I think it really does come down to Sally Hawkins and Frances McDormand, but I think Frances is going to take this one. I really do. Next, we have leading actor, and the nominees are Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis, Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out, Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington, Roman J. Israel, Esquire. This is another interesting category that has many different facets to it. The obvious, of course, Timothée Chalamet and Gary Oldman, we knew would be nominated. Daniel Day-Lewis, again, just like with Meryl Streep, I kind of think that was a bit of a safe choice. Now, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't want to make any prejudgments. That's one thing I definitely want to kind of get away from, because he is one of the best, if not the best actor, living actor that we have right now. So I definitely want to check that performance out. But it feels a little safe, especially with some of the other performances that we've had throughout the year. Daniel Kaluuya was the biggest surprise for me, and I'm so happy that he made it in. Again, I think that is an underrated performance. Again, Get Out has really kept the momentum throughout the whole year as far as staying in the conversation, and I'm glad that it's being recognized, because it's a phenomenal film. And I've talked about this on our podcast before, as far as what Daniel Kaluuya was able to do with that character. When you look at even just that one scene, which I think is, again, in one of my previous videos with top 10 movie scenes from 2017, the sunken place scene, where he was able to go in that scene, and how that scene progresses right there, I think that shows you just the range that he was able to take with this character and with that performance in that movie. Another interesting thing about this is Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel, Esquire, is this, I think it's safe to say, this was supposed to be James Franco's nomination. And of course, everything that's been coming out with the allegations, I think that definitely it definitely affected him. So I think that out of everything is probably the most obvious snub that happened during these nominations. To be honest, I don't even think Denzel was expecting to get this nomination. I can just picture Denzel now. He probably sleep this morning. He was probably asleep this morning. It was like, hey, you got nominated. I was like, I got nominated for what movie? Roman J. Oh, okay, all right. Well, wake me up in a couple of hours. Like, I don't think he was expecting this award at all. But yeah, it's interesting, because you can definitely see that a lot of stuff that's been happening in the news really has affected some of these actors getting the accolades and the nominations that we kind of thought was kind of in the bag for them. So I think, especially for James Franco, he's been getting nominated in all the other award shows, and he was just at the SAG because he was nominated there as well. So I think he was definitely in the mix. And I think, yeah, with everything that's been coming out, I think that definitely hurt him. So for this one, I think Gary Oldman is going to take this. Alright, so we got the last two. So next is directing. So with director, we have Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. This is a really good category as well. Again, Christopher Nolan, his first Oscar nomination for directing. Jordan Peele for his directorial debut to be nominated. And the funny thing about Jordan Peele, I think they said that he is only the third person to have a directorial debut and be nominated for director, writing, and have Best Picture. Yeah, I think he's like the third person. I can't remember. I forgot what they actually said about what that stat was, but I mean, either way, it's a phenomenal feat. And of course, Greta Gerwig, only the fifth woman to be nominated for Best Director. And again, this is her directorial debut, so it really just shows you the talent, especially for Jordan Peele and Greta Gerwig. Paul Thomas Anderson, Phantom Thread, again, haven't seen it, but you know, Paul Thomas Anderson, I mean, he's definitely an auteur. So you kind of thought his name would be in the mix. I haven't really heard anything about Phantom Thread or him being nominated kind of leading up to it. There hasn't really been a lot of buzz around that, but you know, more power to him. Congratulations to him. Guillermo del Toro, I think, is definitely going to be a fan favorite for a lot of people, especially for a lot of fanboys, because you know, he comes from our world. You know, he is a genre filmmaker, but he's also a lover of monsters, a lover of this time period that this movie is made in, and it's, I don't know, to me, I think this could be his year to take this award. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Jordan Peele, because again, that's my favorite movie of the year, and I thought he just did an absolutely magnificent job in directing and executing and crafting that film. But honestly, I don't think you can't go wrong with any name on this list, to be honest with you. Best Picture. So we have 9 films. Seems like we have 9 films every year. So 9 films for Best Picture, and they are Call Me By Your Name, The Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. There's some strong films. There's some really, really strong films this year. I'm trying to think. If there was one I would probably eliminate, would probably be The Post. But I understand why they put it in there, because of how relevant it is now, you know, especially dealing with like journalistic integrity and, you know, the whole idea of fake news. And so, you know, you're reaching back into the past to kind of tell a cautionary tale about what's going on now in the present, and to warn us of what could happen again and again and again. All these films, I mean, as far as, I mean, my top 2 films of the year are in Best Picture. I mean, 3 Billboards and Get Out. Call Me By Your Name, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water. Shape of Water is in there. I mean, that has the most nominations with 13. That, to me, that seems like the clear favorite. Honestly, this is a really strong year for movies. Looking back at 2017, the year to me, I mean, we had Get Out in February, but it's been kind of scarce in the first half of the year as far as like some really, really good, strong films. But the second half, especially the fourth quarter of 2017, man, we've had some powerhouses, some really, really good to great films. And there's a lot that I haven't seen that I'm hoping I can catch up on in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I couldn't even tell you what is the clear favorite as far as for Best Picture. I guess right now, from all the buzz that's happening, and because it has the most nominations, I would say The Shape of Water. But I tell you what, if Get Out wins Best Picture, I'm gonna be dancing the jig. Be dancing the jig. And thanks for bearing with me through all these categories. Hopefully this video won't be too long, but just wanted to go through that because I did when it's all said and done, I mean, as fans, it's just kind of fun to celebrate films. For us, it doesn't really mean anything. For us, we have no stakes in this. But as film fans and lovers of film, it's just it's exciting to see these nominations, to talk about these films, and again, it just breeds more conversation about the discussion of film and the year that we just had. And after March 4th, when it's all over, we can focus on some of the nonsensical, big budget action movies for the summer. But for now, we could talk about some of the very best in cinema that we had this past year. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. And yeah. So let me know in the comments what are some of your thoughts and your predictions for some of these categories, and what you thought were some of the biggest snubs, and who you think might take home the statue for actress, actors, best picture, director, like score, sound, everything. So yeah, just let me know. Let's go ahead and start a conversation with that. So as always, go ahead and check out my other dorks at MouthDork, at TheDiscoDork, and at Sidewalk Siren. And as for me, I am the Turtle Dork, and with that, your boy is out.